Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Taylor and today I'm going to be giving you an overview of my 2025 in books. So this is going to be my best of sort of video. I know that I talk a lot about some of the favorite books that I read this year in my 2025 favorites, and I really tried not to overlap on anything. There is one, I believe, that is overlapped, but this is going to be a little bit different. So if that sounds good to you, if you like talking about books, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And let's hop in. So the best classic I read in 2025 was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This follows Dorian Gray and his obsession with being like young and beautiful. So we're following Dorian Gray and he sees a picture that is painted of himself and he's like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be this young and beautiful again. And by some twist of fate, you know, he wishes that he could have the painting's youth forever. And so this painting now ages as Dorian Gray does not age. And this talks about like obsession and beauty and narcissism. And it's just a beautiful book. If you are looking to get into classics, this one is really, really good. It's actually super accessible. I know everyone talks about how good it is. I feel like it's up there with like Frankenstein and Dorian Gray. This is definitely a great starting point if you like novels and you want to try it out. The best poetry I read was Paradise Lost by John Milton. This is an epic poem about the fall of the Garden of Eden. So it starts out with Satan and his ilk being cast out of heaven after they tried to revolt against God. And Lucifer, who is, you know, the head of everyone down in hell, is like, hey, yo, we heard that God is creating this new world and let's go mess it up. And it's just this beautiful retelling. So on the back it says, an endless moral maze introducing literature's first romantic, Satan. I couldn't have said it better myself. Whenever I talked about this book to people and I was like, yeah, it's told from the point of view of Satan, they'd be like clutch their pearls. And I'm like, have you never heard of literature? Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of people being so like scandalized by things. And one thing too is this book isn't entirely told from the point of view of Satan. We also get Adam's point of view. We also get an angel Raphael's point of view. And one of my favorite books in here is actually book 7, which is all about the creation of the heaven and earth, which Raphael is telling to Adam. Because Adam's like, why do I exist? What is this? And Raphael's like, here, let me tell you a story, sweet man. Well, it is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this is a difficult text. But if you really take your time with it, I could only listen to like one book a day. I listened to it and I read along. And I also used like video companion things. But this was gorgeous. And I think that if you have any inkling at all that you want to read this, just try it. The best young adult novel that I read was Ecstasia by Claire Legrand. It's a post-apocalyptic misogynist religious society where they appoint these young women to be saints, and then what they do is these like weekly beatings where the 4 or 5 saints are up there and they just get the crap beaten out of them and that's like atoning for the sins of women of the past. And so the girls kind of go into the woods and they discover witchcraft, and yeah, so it's like witchcraft. We have a lot of layers of this. We have the horror aspects with like the cult aspect. Are they the only civilization to exist? There's a lot going on in this book, but I thought it was really, really good. I read Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand as well. I didn't like that one as much. I think that this one is really good, and it's very light on the horror aspect of it. The best retelling that I read this year was Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. Atalanta was a chosen human of the goddess Artemis, and she was Artemis's hero that was sent on the Argo with Jason and the Argonauts. And so they go on their journey to get the Golden Fleece. And it's about Atalanta's struggles being the only woman on the ship, her relationship to men, and her relationship to the gods. It's very, very good. It's very different. A lot of retellings that I've, read have been about minor goddesses like Circe or Ariadne, or I did read The Witch's Heart, which I know is Norse, but this one is different in the fact that it is about a human. Like, Atalanta is not supernatural in any sort of way. It also talks about like women's erasure from history. Like, I really liked this book, and I told my students about it actually, and like had a student read a portion of it for a piece, and it's very, very good. I feel like Jennifer Saint does very good retellings, but this one I think is my favorite from her. The best historical fiction I read was The Women by Kristen Hanna. I don't read a ton of historical fiction. A lot of my historical fiction kind of starts and stops with Kristen Hanna, but I read I think like 3 of her books this year, and The Women was by and large just the best in my opinion. This is about a woman who enlists as an army nurse for the Vietnam War. Her family is, her father in particular, is very interested in like war heroes. He's like, yeah, I think they were like a Navy family. And he was like, our family is heroes of men and they're all in the Navy and all this stuff. And this was, women were starting to work and she had her nursing license and all this stuff. And so she was like, hey, yo, I want to be a hero too. I'm going to go be a nurse in the Vietnam War. And so it's about her time in Vietnam, but only about half of that only about half the book is her time in Vietnam. A lot of it explores her time outside of it and what does it look like? What did it look like to be a veteran coming home after that conflict? How people treated you, adjusting to normal life. It was so heart-wrenching. The best horror might be a little bit of a cop-out, but it's Rouge by Mona Awad. I would say Mona Awad writes just creepy enough to where it could be considered like horror, but it's also just dark. It's like about a mother-daughter relationship, and so her mother, Noelle, passes away very suddenly. We don't know why Noelle passes away. And so Belle comes back to California to settle her estate, and she gets roped into essentially a skincare cult. The prose in this book describing the skincare, the solution, the way these people are looking, the parties, the dual timeline of it all. It is gorgeous. It is eerie. It is weird. And some people say that this is heavy-handed, which sure, but if you are really into skincare or makeup or any of those sort of traditionally feminine things, or, you just are interested in exploring beauty standards in a novel format, I think you should really check this one out. It was so good. The best series I read was the Boys of Tommen series. I own 3 of the books, but I have not read Releasing 10 yet. So here I've got Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh and Taming 7. These books are a young adult series, even though they definitely toe the line a little bit. They are about these students in high school, so they're about 15 to 19. And I've read 5 of the 6 books, and they're really dark. So in Binding 13, we're following Johnny and Shannon has a very difficult home life, and Johnny's dealing with a rugby injury, and it's about them kind of falling in love and finding each other and finding solace in each other. And then, Saving and Redeeming 6 is about Shannon's older brother Joey and his battles, particularly with addiction, as it relates to their very turbulent home life. And then Taming 7 is about Gibbsy and Claire and them kind of falling in love, but mostly about Gibbsy in his relationship to some of his childhood trauma. And so in these books, there are a lot of trauma. There are a lot of different things that are explored here, and it's not for everyone. I definitely think you should check trigger warnings, because I started reading Releasing 10 and I did have to put it down, and I'm still not mentally prepared enough to read it. It made me cry a lot. They made me think a lot. The world that Chloe Walsh was able to create with these books was so fun and engaging. And even though, I don't know if you can really tell how long this is, but this is a big book. And Saving and Redeeming 6 are also huge books. I do want to own this entire series. They definitely aren't something that I'm going to pick up and reread. They are not, some people are like, oh, these are my comfort reads. To each their own. but this was definitely the best series that I've read this year. The best short stories I read was Dead of Winter by Keelan Patrick Burke. This is just a bunch of short stories surrounding the winter and particularly Christmas time. Keelan Patrick Burke actually wrote this book in lieu of sending Christmas cards. Anyone who was on his email list got a short horror story for Christmas. And I thought that that was such an interesting concept. I did buy this at a Barnes & Noble. I think I thought it was a novella. I didn't realize that it was short stories. But the uneasiness of reading this, like even some of them that were only like 2 pages long, I was like, I gotta put this down. This is so dark. But they were so good. I think that just such good short stories. Like there's even one that's just about like Santa and like Santa being depressed. So I loved this, and I think that there is so much. Like Keelan Patrick Burke is just clearly a very gifted writer, and I do want to read more of his stuff. The best lit fic, I went back and forth between this one and Yellowface, and I have talked about how I love Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, but it has to go to Downtown Owl by Chuck Klosterman. I loved this book so much. I talk about it all the time. I think about it all the time. I'm going to read you a portion from here. So this is page 11 of Downtown Owl, and I feel like this paragraph really sums up what this book is about. So in this book we're following 3 perspectives. We have a high school boy, a new young single teacher who's a woman, and then an older gentleman who has lived in the town his whole life. So Julia is new to the town. She's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Downtown Owl is set in the fictional town of Owl, North Dakota. It's about a population of around 700, and she's talking to the assistant principal here about, well, I thought 700 kids in my graduating class was like normal, and I just thought that my upbringing was normal and all this stuff. And the assistant principal says this to her: exactly, normal, but your normal class was almost as big as our whole town. And the thing is, when those 26 seniors graduate, the majority will go to college, at least for 2 years, but almost all the farm kids, or at least all the farm boys, inevitably come back here when they're done with school, and they start farming with their fathers. In other words, the same kids who spend 13 years in class with each other start going to the same bars, and they bowl together and go to the same church and pretty much live an adult version of their high school life. People always say that nothing changes in a small town, but whenever they say that, they usually mean nothing changes figuratively. But the truth is that nothing changes literally. It's always the same people doing all the same things. And so this book takes place over the span of 7 months. It's kind of a vibes book, no plot. But if you either come from a small town, you lived in a small town, I lived in South Dakota for a long time, I feel like this book really encompasses the mindsets, the thoughts, the feelings, the feel of living in a small town. And it was so good. And then to end it off, the best romance that I read in 2025 was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. If there's one thing I love, it is a main character woman who is cold to the bone. We have Nora, who is an agent, and she loves being a book agent, but she is like considered cold-hearted, no emotions. Like they call her the shark because she is so like no nonsense. And then we have Charlie, who is also in the book publishing industry, but he's also kind of seen as like a dick. So we have these 2 grumpy people falling in love with each other in a small town because I believe Nora's sister Libby wants to like go to this fictional small town. It's just this gorgeous book about these 2 people who are both told that they are like too much, too intense, too everything in finding love within each other. And that's what I loved about this book, because as someone who's always been told that they're too intense, there's nothing I love more than watching intense people fall in love. So I love when the main female character in a romance book is like grumpy and cold and distant. So I really resonated with this book, and the ending made me cry, and I was like unpacking because I read it when Chad and I moved in. So I was like unpacking my stuff, listening to it, and he's unpacking his stuff. We're in the same room, and I just start bawling, and he's like, oh my god, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And I was like, it's my book. That one, So good, so good. And those are my 10 best of books for 2025. Thank you so much for watching this today. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.